So are we cool now?
Yeah, that was cool after I retired. I was like, I love Stephen A. Smith now. You gotta remember, but that's how, think about what he said versus how I reacted. That's how sensitive.
Right.
That's how sensitive I was. And all he said was, you better be up to the 111. That's it. That's all he said.
Welcome to No Chill with Gilbert Arenas. Right over there, it's the one and only Gilbert Arenas. And right over here, it's the one and only Stephen A. Smith.
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Thanks for coming through.
Thank you.
Man, it's good to be here.
And you know, this might not be what we think it is. You know, it's not like you're walking into the lion's cage.
It's okay.
It's all very
I put him in
civil.
the lion's cage. It's only right. It's only right. It's only fair. Yeah.
I mean, let's put it right out there. Are you holding anything back? Is there something?
No. You know, now that I'm in your world,
Right.
the most accomplished, commentator, I gotta pick the brain.
Right.
I gotta, see what the levels are, because, sometimes, somebody like me will get discouraged. Like, oh, that didn't go too well. They didn't like it,
Right.
and then, you fall back, but when you read your resume, this happened, they canceled this, I went here, I bounced back, I went here,
Right.
and it's just
Right.
trying to figure out, like, how do you just keep it moving?
Yeah. When you get in this business, your first mentality is that you gotta know you gotta keep it moving. I can't speak for everybody else because my mentality is totally different. But I'm a guy that I got left back in the 4th grade, held back for a full year. I actually got left back twice because I got left back in the 3rd grade, but then they put me in my right grade after I went to summer school, and then I went to 4th grade, and then I went to 4th grade, and then had to complete the whole 4th grade because I still had a 1st grade reading level, had dyslexia, didn't even know it, because back in those days, they weren't really diagnosing it like that, and just remembering the ridicule and all this stuff. I was growing up, and everybody was like, he could ball, he could really ball. But when I got left back and I remembered the laughter and the kids laughing at me, it was the most humiliating thing that I ever went through in my life. And the one thing that I made a decision, and I still remember this to this very day, because I'm 53 and it's over 42, 43 years later. And I still remember it to this very day. I was like, you can love me, you can hate me, you will never laugh at me again because I'm an idiot. You ain't doing that. You ain't getting away with that. I'd rather be hated. And so that mentality sort of shaped my tenacity, how I went about doing things. And then I grew up and I was watching all the great journalists. I used to watch Sam Donaldson. That had the eyebrows looking like a vampire covering the White
That
House.
comb over the classic.
You know what I'm saying? I watched Ted Koppel on ABC News Nightline, Peter Jennings, and then in the sports world, the Bob Costas, the Bryant Gumbels. And I grew up idolizing Howard Cosell because of his voice and how it resonated and how distinctive it was. And I remember having this attitude. You can't always be right. You're not a fly on the wall. You're only as good as your sources, all of this other stuff. But the one thing you can do is that when you open your mouth and you say something, people know you believe what you're saying. They know you're not phony. And as long as you do that, and you're in constant and tireless pursuit of getting as close to the truth as you possibly can, you can make it in this business. And so that was the attitude that I always had. And the other thing was to just be fair. You don't have to like me, I don't have to like you, but I'm not gonna be inhuman. I'm not gonna be inhumane. I'm not gonna be the cat. I can call you on the carpet for what you do. What I'm not gonna do is castigate you and character assassinate you and say, this is who you are. Now, if there's a mountain of evidence that says this is all the same, well, damn it, if it walks like a duck and quack like a duck, it ain't a damn mongoose, okay? But in the end, I always make sure to try to draw those lines in the sand. And that's where a lot of, I believe, my success has come from, because I knew I was gonna work hard. I knew I was motivated. I knew later on I wasn't nearly as good as you and all these guys that's playing in the NBA, I couldn't shine their shoes, so I better knew how to do something else. I better learn how to do something else. But I knew that I could write. I knew I could report. I knew what I was doing. And I knew that no one was gonna outwork me. And the combination of that, along with the people that I surrounded myself with, being in college and playing for the Clarence Big House Gaines and the legendary John McClendon, who helped integrate the sport of basketball, and having them talk to me like father figures and teach me about life, not just basketball, and then get to the NBA, and I'm covering John Chaney first, and then Larry Brown. Well, we're talking about over 200 years of basketball experience between Clarence Big House Gaines, John McClendon, Larry Brown, John Chaney. And so when you combine that with the fact that I knew a little bit about ball because I played it, and I learned from institutions who taught everybody else how to learn the game of basketball, you couldn't tell me anything. Couldn't tell me anything. And that's why it's like I can cover football and baseball and stuff like that, but I'm a reporter. So in that regard, I'm like, okay, this is what I see. Explain to me what I'm missing. You can't talk to me about basketball. I know what the hell I see.
And that's what it is.
I know what the hell I'm looking at.
You respect guys that were like, because I was thinking for you, played D1 ball, Winston-Salem.
D2, yes.
D2, okay.
Right.
Winston-Salem, and knowing that you get to a certain level, like, I can relate. I'm not going to the NBA, so what can I do with this? Because I see the game, I see the story that's involved, I see the guys that are, competing out there.
Right.
And how can I relate that? And I can relate to them in a certain way, and then there's a certain level that I can't get to.
But there's
you
a
respect
secret
guys
to it.
like that.
There's a secret to it, though. Like, for example, one of the reasons why any player I think would be annoyed at me covering them is because they haven't figured out one thing about me. I don't define success for y'all. I let them do it. I read and listen and watch you say what your definition of success is at the beginning of every season, and then I hold you accountable to it. So a lot of times when guys are upset, I'm looking at them like they don't even know. And there's a few times, and because remember, I covered Allen Iverson for his first 10 years of his career, and Allen Iverson, there's very few people that know me better than him in the NBA, and he figured it out. He said, damn. And sometimes he would be doing interviews like, where's Stephen at? I don't want him to hear this shit. He gonna quote me because he knows. I'm listening. I'm like, on October 2nd, you said, I'm saying, and that shapes the framework for the season. Because I'm like, nah, granted, if Gilbert is averaging 28 one year, 29 another, you can't come to me and say, well, my job this year is to average 13. We're not gonna be unrealistic here. I know better than that. But what I'm saying is if it's in the ballpark of what your expectations are, what expectations you've built for yourself, then I let you define it. And that's when I hold guys accountable. And I hold them accountable to what their job description is and what they say. You ain't never heard me get on Dennis Rodman because he don't score. Because he didn't score. You ain't never heard me say that. You ain't ever heard me look at Kwame Brown and say, you know what? He garbage because he ain't averaged 30. That's not what I said. That's not what I said. I'm watching guys, and that plays a role because in the field of journalism and beyond, when you are really chronicling what people do, where you're wrong is when you don't talk to them and you don't care what they say. Now, everybody can't talk to everybody. Some guys you're going to talk to, some guys you're not. But you're talking to somebody, what you feel is chronicled, and to not take into account anything that anybody says, how they feel or anything like that, that's when you cross the line as a reporter, and I've never done that.
You've been very quiet over there, Mr. Arenas. And I know
because here I'm trying to
process all this.
I'm trying to absorb
it
the
all.
information. That's that's what a lot of people don't do.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like I'm trying to figure out, weed through it because I realized just how I was as a player towards reporters. And I was smart enough to realize, just give them sound bites. Give them good sound bites that they can use so they don't have to make up sound bites.
Right.
So I was one of those guys who was always, like, if I know someone's trying some sneaky, I knew how to get around it and, make it funny. So that was my gift but then when it was the outside and someone says something, you tend to get mad. Now on this side, I realize why we get mad.
Right.
Because just like you said, accountable. For the first time in our lives, when we get to the NBA, is the first time we've been written about bad or negative. Remember, growing up, everyone's cheering. If you're booing me because I'm kicking your team's ass.
Right.
So we never hear criticism until the big stage.
Yeah.
So once that big stage come and Someone says, oh, he's not a very good passer. You get all in your feelings. Well, technically, I don't pass the ball, so he's right. You're right, but I didn't want to hear it.
Right.
I didn't want to hear it. Now I'm in my feelings. Now I want to do an interview with you because you told the truth to the world. And that's what ends up happening with us. It's more that someone saying something negative, but it is the truth, but we don't want to hear it at the time.
Do you watch guys and know that cycle's gonna happen, right? We build you up, we celebrate you, we make you a hero, and then we chip away at that. We try to break it down a little bit, and then build you back up. That's what we root for.
We know the process of, you know, it's a threshold. Like, you have about 2 to 3 years. Like Embiid, I was like, you got a few more years of doing what you do before they're like, hey, hold on. Are you just a mouth, or are you gonna put action to it? Are you just good enough to keep your team afloat, or good enough to get your numbers, or are you good enough to actually put this team here? We know that. We know it coming in, we know it, but at the end of the day, if we're not succeeding when that time comes, here it comes. And you know, and that's just it.
Let me tell you, I'm listening to Gilbert right now, right? Let me tell you and I shouldn't say it's funny because it's not funny to most reporters, but it's funny to me. And it's funny to me what professional athletes miss. And let me explain. So we're criticizing you, right? And a lot of times they look at the reporters. You ain't look at the coach and what he might have said off the record behind your back. You ain't look at the assistant coach who was sent to disseminate that message, so we know. You ain't look at the GM who worried about his job because he elected to give you that money, and now there's something going on. You ain't playing just right, but he can't just say that, right? It can't be that he made the wrong decision about investing. And not that nobody did that to you, because when you got your money, you deserved your money. I'll be real, totally real about that. But I'm just saying in general, people are not realizing we get it from somewhere. And it's like, I look at athletes sometimes, so let me get this straight. You think that you are so important that I went home and I conjured up ways to conspire to write a story about you, right? That not only is gonna piss you off, but it's gonna make my life considerably more inconvenient because I got to cover you every day. You understand? I got to come to the games, I got to look at you, I got to walk by you, I got to see you smiling at me. So I just did that because I just wanted to do it. Really? You really think that? And it's like, and then you gotta remember, as reporters, we watch this, and you'll know where I'm going with this. How many times did you see an executive hug you? How many times did a coach or an assistant coach come up to you and pat you on the back and, oh, great, and all this stuff? And we, the reporters, and we can't reveal our sources, and we sitting there like this. Really? But you mad at me. You're mad at me. And I'm like, wait a minute here. You really think that that's how this goes down? And you're sitting there, you're looking at players, and it's like, wow. Okay. If that's what you want to believe, that's fine, because the truly shrewd player is the one to make sure they cultivate their own relationships in the media. So you know exactly where you want to go because you trust that your message is going to get put out the way you want it. That's the key right there, because everybody say stuff. But you got to vibe with somebody that truly gets you and make sure they're going to say it right the way you want them to say it, at the time you want to say it, in the venue or the platform you want them to say it in. And you have no idea how many players. It is 2021 and they still don't get it.
They don't know how to milk it.
And by the way, before I let y'all go on, you got players that it's social media. We don't need you. Do you understand that means we don't need you? Do you understand that because of social media, if I wanted to, I could get away with not talking to one player. All I gotta do is go to your Twitter page, your social media page. You've made my job easier. You're not hurting me, you're hurting you because you haven't cultivated relationships with enough people to make sure that you heard. It's a shame, but it's true.
we know it's not you.
Right.
We do. We know like it's leaked by someone.
Right.
As soon as it says sources, we be like, man, why they keep hiding behind these sources? Who the hell is sources? Then you start looking at each other like, which one of y'all? Yeah, which one of y'all? Yeah. Somebody ain't getting the ball today. Yeah, we gonna see.
That's right.
We try to figure it out, but we gotta go to who's talking.
Yeah.
So we try to put pressure on you so you can be like, oh yeah, you're
But y'all don't. But that's the whole point. You don't. Like
because it just killed me once. I'm like, I'm not going back.
You know, when you were in Washington, you had some issues, and I'm sitting there like this. He did not come up to me one time and say, "Where the hell you get this from? What the hell were you saying?" Because had he said so, I'd have looked at you and like this. You know I can't tell you that.
Yeah,
and I would have said it in such a way like, you need to look around you. See, AI was brilliant at that. AI would be pissed, and then he'd calm down. He'd look at me, what's up? I saw that shit you wrote. I said, yeah. Uh-huh. Okay. And he just stared at me, because I'm looking right at him. And I was looking at him in a way like, you know what it was me. You know what me. You understand what I'm saying? You know, open your eyes. For me personally, and I really, really appreciate that analysis because it makes me step back and it reminds me of what I say to NBA players. And this points to something else that you asked me about earlier. I know the game, but I never pretend to know more than cats who play it. What I do is I say, okay, I'm a reporter. Respect that. Because I've been covering it and I've been chronicling it for a quarter century. I've been here. You see what I'm saying?
But you love the damn game.
But I love the damn game. But what I never do, even when I could question, challenge, or disagree, what I always tell players, so many guys that want to get into our business and come to me asking me for advice or whatever, you can ask KP and this and others. I pull them to the side. Come in. What's that? You the expert. Don't be timid. Tell me what you got. Tell me what you got. This is what you do. Draymond, D-Wade, Shaq, all of them. I look at Shaq, what are we whispering for? You 4-time champion. Stick your damn chest out. Say what you mean and mean what you say. I don't know. You don't sound convincing. Convince me, damn it. I mean, literally, they'll tell you I've done all of these things because, number one, there's no one that can look at me and say I ever wish for them to fail. That's not who I am. I ain't that dude. I always want you to succeed. If you're messing up, I'm gonna call you on it, but I always want you to succeed. And when we're talking about the game itself, I've religiously looked at KD in recent memory. I'm like, he the best in the world. He the best in the world. Where I go back and forth between him and LeBron is for precisely the reason you just outlined. Because he doesn't appear to ask for the responsibilities that LeBron visibly embraces. KD doesn't do that. And then as a result, you can see the chip on his shoulders. And then where somebody like KD will hurt himself is when somebody points out, damn, you look like you got a chip on your shoulder. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. It's like, so we just blind. You just walking around all happy, go like, wait, we missing the fact that you're frowning? We missing the fact that you're a little bit sensitive to this?
That's what it is. That's what I was, this whole time I was like, what are we getting to? Guys are sensitive. They're sensitive. And I'm not focused on just one guy.
It depends on who says it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, that's what I said. So I tell him he's number 2, and he's gonna question me. And then when I give my reason, he'll be like, okay, fine. I'm gonna ask 6 months from now,
right,
the same question.
Yeah.
Give me my answer. I can tell him the same thing. He wants me to explain it. Like we want the explanation. We want to know why, because you gotta remember, we're sensitive because you're telling me I'm not here yet. I want to be better than LeBron. I want that crown. So every time you says, you don't do this, it gets to me.
Well,
like, I want it.
But
I want to give it to me.
And
that's what it is.
And I totally get it. But you know what bothers me about the modern day athlete in the NBA? It's like you upset about that conversation. Why? We're talking basketball. That's the conversation. Like, oh my God, like I got this running joke. Because, you know, listen, I profoundly respect LeBron, but he do his thing, I don't do my thing. We don't communicate, and I don't give a damn. Here's the deal. This dude, to me, you always see me on First Take, I put up this ticker tape. great father, great husband, great businessman, philanthropy. I mean, he's phenomenal. Why is that necessary? Because you got people in his camp walking around. He's number 2 all time. Oh my God, shoot him. That's such a terrible, what an insult. Oh my God, I have you number 2. The game of basketball started in 1946. The NBA was in 1950. In the last 70 plus years, I have said there is only one player on the planet Earth that is better than LeBron James, and you would think I'm the Antichrist. You just watch guys, and it's like, I mean, I can't tell you because the brother comes out at me. He knows what I mean when I say the brother because I want to use another word, but I ain't gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? It comes out at me because I'm like, it pisses me off that we're really having this conversation. You're insulted, and your agent come, and your boy come, and your PR people come. You have nothing to do with this. You have nothing to say. But all of these people come, and they're like, oh, Stephen A., come on, Stephen A. I mean, what the hell are you trying to say? Literally making a case. Literally making a case. Number 2 all time. And so you're looking at this, and it's like, then talk basketball. What you do with your personal life is your business. I got a personal life. I don't want nobody in my business. I respect the hell that you don't want nobody in your business. But you can talk to me about journalism. You can talk to me about broadcasting. You can talk to me about what the hell I said on First Take or Stephen A's World. You can do that. That's what I'm doing in a public forum. We can have that conversation all day. But these guys walk around like, oh my God, what the hell are you saying? You heard what the hell I said. Why do you disagree? And let's have a conversation. But you have folks that either want to act like you don't know, or they want to be offended because you disagree with them but don't want to say it. But then when you point out, well, you might be a little sensitive because you want to be seen here over this guy. But then we making up stories because that's not really the agenda. But you admit privately to people that, again, it ultimately gets back to us. That's exactly how you feel. But you deny it until you write your own damn memoir that you've been feeling that way for years. It does get a bit crazy, Gilbert. It really does.
But from the other side,
Sure.
we've watched what greatness is, and we try to create our own path. Right. And Jordan is the mountain, right? He's the Bugatti,
Right.
of what the look, the class, the speed. Like, he's there.
Yep.
So when you're playing this game, you're trying to get to that top.
Right.
So it's one of those things. The more you keep telling me I'm number 2,
Right.
I can't accept it.
Don't.
I don't trade. But that's
I
what it
hope
is.
you don't.
But that's what it is. It's the competitive. So I respect the competitive that you don't accept number 2. You don't accept it. You don't accept that you're number 2.
And I'm saying to you, I totally respect that you don't accept it. But you playing tomorrow. And next month. And a month after. Go. Because guess what? This is how I feel. But that's no reason to feel like, oh my God, I can't stand your ass for it. Really? It's like, are you kidding me? That's why?
That's one thing I do gotta give this group credit for. They play basketball. Like my era, I went to the gym from 2000, when I get in 2001. Before the game, I'm there at 3 o'clock, 3:30, because I heard Kobe was there. You know, growing up in LA, Kobe. Watch Kobe go through his workout. That's who taught me how to work out, how to be a professional, what you do on game day. So I go there. There's only one other player in my whole NBA career that was consistently coming early, Ray Allen. We're talking about 400 and something players and 2 players.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here like, and then watching this generation, it's like, they love like KD, like I'm either playing the video games or I'm on the basketball court. Kawhi, whenever I hear something about, he just shoots all day. Like, it's like, at least these guys are in the gym. It ain't the 80s player, we're gonna go to the club. Even if some of those guys go to the club, they'll go after the game, they'll shoot for 2 more hours, then go to the club. And I was like, why didn't I think of that one?
Well,
why didn't I think
that is one way to look at it. Here's the other. They love playing, and pretty much that's all they do. Not that they don't have business ventures on the outside and all. I'm certainly not trying to imply that, but I'm just saying in terms of just piggybacking off your statement about how much they love to play. Because they can afford to. And I'm not talking about just salary. I'm talking about what the league and the media and corporate America / Madison Avenue has done to promote the NBA brand. So it can elevate to such a point where you don't have to worry about anything but that. You might choose to do other things and diversify your portfolio, but you don't have to. With the exception of the select few, you had to do that in the previous era. MJ, when they had the Last Dance and all of that stuff, we benefited from that greatly. All of us did, because it was right at the start of the pandemic and there was no sports going on, and we had that Last Dance coming on the tube every week, thank God. MJ and I was talking all the time because, he disagreed with some of the things that he saw other people saying and stuff like that, and, trusted me enough to, give me some insight into his thinking or on something that might have been misperceived on television. And when it came to the portion about Scottie Pippen, it was like Scottie Pippen felt this way about Last Dance. And Jordan was like, well, here's what it was. And everybody wants to talk about the money that I make. They keep forgetting that as a player, I averaged $4 million a year. That was it. Over the first 11 years of his career. So off the court stuff don't have nothing to do with the fact that I had to make this sacrifice in helping to build the game for those 11 years. And a lot of times when you're talking to players and you're listening to them now, back in the day, it wasn't like a player had to go back and get a second job at the time, the 80s and beyond. But what you did have to do was think about things more than just basketball, because you weren't in the level, you didn't have the level of control that you have now. The NBA had a heavier hand down upon you if it wanted to. On top of that all, you were devoid of social media, so you had to lean on the media and other outlets to express a message that you yourself couldn't do alone. So you had all of those things to think about, okay? We fast forward to now. And what you have is a situation where you have a whole bunch of players and a whole bunch of folks that don't feel they need any damn body because you getting paid, right? And it's one thing to feel that way, because I understand it, because I've been very, very blessed and fortunate to make a little paper in this industry compared to what other people in this industry are making, all right? But it's another thing entirely to wear it on your sleeve, to the point where the status quo and how things normally are conducted don't apply to you. And you walk out there and you think you can do what you want and be what you want any way you want to. And that's what you're seeing with a lot of these guys. And so my point is that I've been blessed and fortunate enough to have so many relationships, players, coaches, executives, even owners, that I'm always going to be connected to the game in some capacity, because I just know too many damn people. When you've been around this long, you just know, all right? But I look at these guys on a come up covering these industries, and I often ask myself with players, it never occurred to you that brother right there is just getting started. He may not know any better. You might help him be a better reporter. You don't care. You might help this person be better in PR. You don't care. You might help this person be a better business person. You don't give a shit. And when you wear that on your sleeve, you the same person that's gonna complain later, these people don't get it. They don't give a damn, they ain't listening, what the hell am I talk to them for? And then you wonder how everything falls apart. It fell apart because you wore this attitude on your sleeve. I got mine. And everyone sees it. And so that and then you want them to go out and be completely objective about covering you when you've given them your ass to kiss on so many occasions. How does that work? In no other walk of life would anybody expect that, except with professional athletes. Some of them. I'm not saying most, I'm not saying all, but some of them, and we know who they are, and we just wait. Because that's all you have to do. I tell reporters all the time, all you have to do is wait.
Just wait.
But there was a point where that balance tipped, the generation. You guys are probably in the middle, where these kids now, they're so used to media that they embrace it. They're ready for it at 14.
So, I mean, depending on who you are, like, some kids are media ready. Some guys are shy. They don't really, you have, that's just gonna be you try to find the balance of who's camera ready versus who's just a basketball player. Just like anything. Some guys just want to be basketball players. That's all they know. That's all they want to be, no matter how great their talent is.
But is that true? I got a question. Like, for example, when you say we just want to play basketball, they act like they would play for free. I'm not saying they wouldn't play for free, but in the same breath, the fact that it comes with millions of dollars don't hurt.
It don't hurt, but you got to remember, before we got here, we played for free just as hard. Just as hard, we played for free. So this was always my thing with, this guy couldn't play in the 80s or 90s. You got to remember, before we got into the NBA, with the NBA rules we're adapting to, half our youth was fighting because of we can't finish the game with 21 and all that. We know how to play rough.
You know what I'm thinking of? Draft night. You see they have the whole world in front of them. They're just getting started. You think of the kid, I love Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. They're so young and there's so much ahead of them that they're gonna grow into something. And you want them to realize you only have a short window. I wish you played 15 years.
Like even with him, I like his personality already. He seems...
But the point, hang on here, you never know when it's gonna be over. Yeah. So you might as well make the most of it when you're there.
Yeah, but that's not how we look at it. We think we're invisible. We don't really think about what I never knew how important the emotional part of it was. Mm-hmm. Because I was created just to be an assassin. You don't care about no feelings. You try to find someone's weakness. You attack it. All that emotional I feel. My mom this is the basketball court. You don't give.
Ain't got time for all that.
Right. So I remember Derrick Rose in Cleveland, and he twists his ankle and then says, I need to go back home. I need to reevaluate if I want to play. I got so offended. Mm-hmm. And I said, wait, hold on. You're now trying to figure out if you want to play and retire? You should have thought about that in training camp, because there was a guy who was who got cut last. If you would have made your decision, he would be starting his dream off of being an NBA player. Mm-hmm. That is selfish.
Yeah.
That is selfish of you, right? Wrote it, boom, send, boop.
Yep.
Then I thought about it and didn't realize that ankle injury wasn't what I think an ankle injury. His first injury, twisted his ankle first, blew his knee. Mm-hmm. Came back, twisted his ankle, blew his knee. Came back, twisted his ankle, blew his knee. Mm-hmm. He's in Cleveland. Yeah. He twisted his ankle. All that ran through his brain was blowing my knee and I have to rehab, and it freaked him out.
Right.
And that's when I understood. I had to okay, this was deeper than my little, he twists his ankle and you leave, and it was deeper than that. This was an emotional battle that you were trying to defeat, and it's beat you 3 times. Mm-hmm. It basically, this defeat almost took you out of the NBA. Mm-hmm. And that break, I understood. But it has to be explained because no one is mind reading.
Exactly. And that's where I was going. I was saying, I don't disagree with a word you said. My retort to that would be, what the hell I got to figure that out for? You got a mouth. Mm-hmm. You got a tongue. You know how to speak. Why don't you say so? It's very simple. It really is. It really is. Listen, man. I'm a very, very hard worker. And people know that I don't like to miss work. Damn it, man, I had a toothache. Shit hurt. Got an infection under the bone of the root canal. Shit hurt bad. I called in and I came on the air. This is why I called in. I don't care what you think. I know what I was going through. Shit hurt every time. Me, who opens my mouth for a living. Every time I open my mouth, you ever had one of them pains that just, oh my God, you just want to curl up like a baby. You damn near crying every time air hits it because that's how much it hurt. That's what I was going through. I don't give a damn what y'all believe. That's what happened. Period. And you let it go. But a lot of times, these cats, it's like, again, you don't want to explain it, but unfortunately, you're in a position where you have to. But I remember one time MJ came up to me. He said, Stephen A., this is years ago, about 15 years ago. He said, man, I'm cool with you, man. It's just the way you say shit sometimes. It's the way you said this. You know what I said to MJ? I said, you know what, fine. MJ, fine, no problem. I said, can I have a job? Because evidently you want to pay me. You gonna tell me how to do something and I'm getting paid to do this. Can I have a job? He just started laughing. I'm like, damn. This is how I talk. I'm not faking it. You know, I talk like this. That's how I talk. I don't mean no harm, but this is how I communicate. How come I can't make money? You know what I'm saying? AI came to me with that one time. I said, AI, $200,000. Because at the time I was making 53. I was making 53,000 for photos. I said, $200,000. And he said, for what? I said, PR. PR, be your publicist. Because that's what you want me to be. You asking me to be your publicist. Because you don't want me to report. You want me to say what you want me to say. $200,000. Now, obviously, I didn't mean it because I would never have worked for him. But it was my point was, come on. We got a job. It's like, relax. And, you know, again, you just hope that cats ultimately adopt that kind of mentality.
Sign of weakness. That's what it really is. Sign of weakness.
All right, we're running out of time here.
Yeah.
We got to put you to work.
Sure.
All right. It's Ask Agent Zero time. So I'm sure there's been some stuff through the years that's probably floated through your mind. This is the time to get it out, or something from the past that we have to set the record straight with.
Whatever y'all want.
What do you got for him?
Well, I heard you didn't like me, man. I was stunned.
No.
I was stunned. I was stunned, man. I mean, me, not like. I mean, oh my God.
We did talk about sensitivity here earlier.
What's up?
No, it was one of those things. I just signed my contract.
Right,
the
right,
111.
Right.
All you said was, you better be worth the 111. That's all you said.
That's right.
And I was like, wait,
Yes.
what you trying to say? And to me, I'm like, I just turned down 127 for the 111, and you questioned me. I don't like them. I don't like them now. Like,
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because inside, I knew it. I knew it. Like when people ask me, were you overpaid? And I said, yes, but no. Yes, I was, because I was hurt, I was damaged, already had 2 surgeries. When we did our negotiation, me and Ernie, he offered me what he felt I was worth. Here's about 89, 90 million.
Right.
And I'm sitting here 3-time All-Star, 3-time MVP, and you're giving me this?
Right.
And my max is 127?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here like, I have no choice. I get the call from Abe Poland.
Yeah.
Abe Poland.
Yeah.
And he says, whatever you want. You did what you said you were gonna do. You got me out of my Jordan era. You turned this franchise around. I owe you whatever you want. I don't care what they said about you. That's not my, hey, I probably won't be alive to see this contract.
Right.
But you're gonna be the last person I sign. Don't worry, take your trip. When you get back, the money's yours. And it was one of those things, so when people asked me, I was like, yes, but I had a relationship. I dealt with relationships. So when they looked at me, they didn't look at me as busted knee, probably won't be the same. Nah. He looked at me like, he's done everything. He works hard. You know, he does this. He looks out for the older people in the arena. If they need new chairs, he comes to me, lets me know first. He does everything he needs to do. That's like my son.
Gotcha.
You know, so I was like, my contract is more off my relationship with Abe versus, you know, my injury, because my injury, I'm second guessing it too.
Let me say this. I heard that. I didn't know that. I didn't give a damn about that then. I don't give a damn about it now. And here's what I mean by that. You are a baller. At the time they signed you 111, I'm like, yo, 111 ounce. You gotta show up.
That's how it was too.
And you got to show up. It's like, I mean, this ain't about nothing. This ain't about anything other than that. It was like, look, you got to show up because That's the whole deal about accountability. And here's what a lot of y'all don't realize, especially when it come to me. All them old school Hall of Famers. I talk to all of them. All of them. They don't talk about players. They talk about the standard that they were held to. And what they say is, don't you dare let them off the hook. You ain't let us off the hook. This generation didn't let us off the hook. Hold them to the same level of responsibility you held us to. Because when it's all over and we're judging who was great and who wasn't, that all comes into play. When we talk Muhammad Ali is the greatest, there was a Sugar Ray Robinson, there was a Joe Louis, there was, there's a whole bunch of people, even today, Floyd Mayweather. Why do we call Ali the greatest? It wasn't because he was undefeated, but it wasn't just because of how great he was in the ring. It was because of the adversity he faced and he overcame. And so what the players from previous generations religiously point out, what we had to go through to get the recognition. We weren't getting endorsement deals when we were in 5th place. We weren't getting nine-figure endorsement deals, sneaker contracts, and all of this other stuff. If our team was a 500 squad, hell no, we had to show up. Stephen A, you just gonna let that slide? you just gonna let this? LeBron, he lost 6 rings. He lost 6 chips. You just gonna act like he's just the greatest? Really? You have people like this? Come on, Stephen A. And I'm like this. Damn. And so he's watching. The players are watching. The old school cats are watching. Everybody's watching. And I'm like this. I got nowhere to go. Only thing I could do is be me, because I can live with me. I can't do what somebody else is saying. I got to do what I feel. And that's how it goes.
So are we cool now?
Yeah, it was cool after I retired. I was like, I love Stephen A. Smith now. You gotta remember, but that's how, think about what he said versus how I reacted. That's how sensitive.
Right.
That's how sensitive I was. And all he said was, you better be up to the 111. That's it. That's all he said.
He got himself into some stuff. When you was in the news and all of that stuff. And what I said to folks then was, mistakes happen. What happens is that when I got mad at him was when you made light of it when you were in Philly. And the Commissioner Stern ultimately came at you on the court. And here's why I was mad. You don't know Commissioner Stern, God rest his soul. You didn't know him. You didn't know what he would do. You got money to be made. You playing for this franchise. It's sensitive times. And it's like, to me, I wasn't, crucifying him. I was saying, what you doing?
I was in court. And, the DA was like, hey, look, he can't even take this serious, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, if that's what you see in this picture, then that's what you see. What I see is, this is the last time me and this group had our laugh together. I probably would never see these guys again. I don't know what my fate, but that I can look at this picture and every time I see it, I can smile because we're all happy. That was the last time I can say me and this group was actually happy. But that came from a hurt phone call I got, and it was just, let's go. You know what I mean?
It's totally understandable, man. Especially listening to you explain it is totally understandable. From my position, it's like, with all the great things you have done, that's what they're gonna hold on to. The general populace, the general public, they're going to hold on to that. And I will openly confess to you that, listen, I'm not anti-anything, but I'm unapologetically pro-Black. I don't apologize about anybody. And I understand, as a 53-year-old Black man from the streets of New York, what a lot of Black men go through. And so I completely get where you coming from. My whole point is, tomorrow's another day, and so is next month, and so is next year. Don't give these cats, and when I say that, I'm just talking about the general population. Don't give these cats that ammunition to hold on to something when your game is over, because you'll be surprised how much you have to give. And so I'm gonna be straight up with you. When I sit here and I'm listening to him now and he's talking about basketball, you have any idea how good you would be as a basketball analyst? I'm just like breaking stuff down. I'm like this. I didn't think about that one. That's a goddamn point. This is point after point after point. You start breaking down and you get into the nuances of the game itself, right? But when you hear the name Gilbert Arenas, what's somebody gonna think? And so that's an obstacle you have to, that ain't the end of the world. You moved on, you'll continue to move on. But I'm saying for me, as a black man who pays attention to the obstacles that black folks, particularly black men, create for ourselves, that's what I'm always trying to address. And it's me coming at it and really throwing myself to the guillotine because I'm like, yo, they might hate me for saying this, but I know they're gonna hear me. And if they smart, which I believe they are, they're gonna hear me saying, people watching, this is what they're doing. This is what I gotta prepare myself to navigate myself around. As a result, they'll be better for it. And as a result, I will have done my job in terms of my own personal mission. Do my job, but to help as many brothers along the way as I possibly can. And that's why I could come at stuff ferociously, because I know I'm talking about the game, and I know that at the end of the day, when it comes to stuff that's off the court, I'm gonna always be around if somebody wanna call me. They say, there's nobody that I've covered in sports that can say to me, they picked up the phone and said, Stephen A., I need your help. And I said, no. There's no one that can ever say that about me. And I know that. So as long as that's the case, I sleep well at night.
And that's where my first question came from. It was because of that. Like, how did you overcome to get there? Because that was one of my things. Me and D-Wade used to talk about it. And I was like, I'm just so afraid to jump out there. Yeah. And then what they say, oh, Gilbert in the locker room. Like, oh, okay, never mind. I'll go back into the hole. Like, that's right. You know what I mean? And that's why I was like, it was like, so I see you bouncing and bouncing and bouncing. And that's why the first question was that, like, how do you overcome? And, and that kind of helps me out to just keep going.
That's right.